these civil rights leaders are nothing more than racist. They're keeping their neighborhoods and their African-American brothers enslaved, if you will, by continuing to let them think that or force them to think that they're victims, that the whole system is against them. Articulate it better, Sean. It's so sad to me.
We can't even say you're articulate. We can't even give you guys compliments.
Half of the kids in this country under 5 years old are minorities. White people are having fewer. Put it bluntly, we need more babies.
I dealt with people like this for 20 years. They will get up every day, they will kill somebody and go have some chicken at KFC.
Crime and out of wedlock birth, black folks having babies, not being married, and stuff like that is out of control. And it's not because they lack material things, but because not all, right, but most of them lack moral character. Look what they did to the Dome. In 3 days, they turned the Dome into a ghetto. Black folk, especially racist blacks, have the freedom of expression when it comes to the issue of race and morality. But white folks are made to be quiet.
We always love having you. Appreciate it. And proud to be on your board at Bond. Thank you.
The reason that he's considered such a big deal is simply because he's black.
He is a black candidate surrounding himself with a lot of white advisors.
He represents some sort of hope of bringing us all together anyway. And again, I think the only reason that looks plausible is because we see something about his being brown that creates that. It's almost like he's manic.
News involving African-American victims across the U.S. has led to a string of angry protests from outraged black community members.
Most police officers are good, honest, hard-working men and women. But there is a culture of police officers out there that represent a legalized gang.
We got to run.
And we need to recognize it and do it.
If there's any national disgrace, it's your rush to judgment in this particular case and your use of racial politics for your own aggrandizement. That is the national disgrace.
I couldn't get over the fact that there was no difference between Sylvia's restaurant and any other restaurant in New York City. I mean, it was exactly the same, even though it's run by blacks, primarily black patronship. There wasn't one person in Sylvia's who was screaming, MF'er, I want more iced tea. You know, I mean, everybody was, it was like going into an Italian restaurant in an all-white suburb in the sense of people were sitting there and they were ordering and having fun, and there wasn't any kind of craziness at all.
There are groups this morning saying that not only is the song racist, but it's putting Barack Obama at increased danger. You know, of course, last week we reported that he has gotten Secret Service protection, the earliest for any presidential candidate. Is Rush Limbaugh's Barack the Magic Negro song racist? What do you think? Vote online at CBS13.com. He's had a lot of parody songs, Lisa and Jeff, some funnier and less sensitive than this one.
We keep marrying other species and other ethnics and other...
Are you sure you're not suffering from some of the causes of dementia right now?
See, the problem is the Swedes have pure genes. Because they marry other Swedes, because that's the rule. Finns marry other Finns, so they have a pure society. In America, we marry everybody. Okay. So we marry Italians and Irish. So this study does not apply? Does not apply to us.
Huh. The blue-collar cops, firemen, largely men, who had to choose between racism and sexism, and they decided to vote for Hillary.
Yeah. Very seriously, and this is a little harsh, but one of the things about Herman Cain is I think that he makes that white Republican base of the party feel okay, feel like they are not racist because they can like this guy. I think he is giving that base a free pass, and I think they like him because they think he is a black man who knows his place.
Rush Limbaugh explaining that he's not a racist by saying that he wants to be a part of a team, an organization that's 70% African-American.
I could just see the visions of plantation grandeur dancing in his head as we speak. Yeah, it doesn't make you a racist to want to own a team, but it does kind of, with all his history, question his power position over these players who make millions of dollars and his ability to be able to move them around, deny them contracts, and do whatever he wants willy-nilly. It's the ultimate power position to be an owner of an NFL team.
You've made it very clear that you think that there are some elements of the Tea Party that are like the Ku Klux Klan, that they are racist and they have a fascination with it. With that, are you somewhat offended that there's going to be a Tea Party caucus?
You simply get chills every time you see these poor individuals. As Jack Cafferty just pointed out so tragically, so many of these people, almost all of them that we see, are so poor and they are so black, and this is going to raise lots of questions for people who are watching this story unfold.
President Obama addressed the veterans of foreign wars in Phoenix, a man at a pro-healthcare reform rally just outside wore a semi-automatic assault rifle on his shoulder and a pistol on his hip. The Associated Press reports about a dozen people in all at that event were visible carrying firearms. And the reason we're talking about this, a lot of talk here, Dylan, because people feel like, yes, there are Second Amendment rights for sure, but also there are questions about whether this has racial overtones. I mean, here you have a man of color in the presidency and white people showing up with guns strapped to their waists or to their legs.
It sounds simplistic when you put it that way, but it is real that there is tremendous anger in this country about government and the way government seems to be taking over the country, anger about a black person being president, just several upheavals in the country over the last 10 years, from 9/11 to the economic tsunami, to the black man becoming president. And, you know, we see these hate groups rising up, and this is definitely part of that. I'm not going to be surprised if we see somebody get a chance and take a chance and really try to hurt him, or really, you know, and I mean, it's up to the Secret Service to make sure that it doesn't actually become history. But, you know, I think we're going to see somebody, you know, some sort of Squeaky Fromm, some sort of Mark Hinckley figure, because there's so much anger in the country about him, about what's going on with government.
Angry at government and racism, you put those two together.
The British weren't stealing money from us for health care. They weren't. I mean,
it's not even bad as this.
They weren't taxing us the way they are now back then. And what do? We forcefully kicked them out of our country. And we will forcefully resist people imposing their will on us through the strength of the majority with a vote. Just because you sick a government on people doesn't make it morally okay to steal money from people. Taxation is theft. All taxation. All taxation.
Texas is not comprised of people willing to allow Barack Obama and his SARS to tax us into bankruptcy while Michelle Obama and her 26 aides live it up on our dime.
Wow. Let me go to Jonathan Martin on this. It seems to me, when I heard people going after the First Lady and the number of staff people they have, it sounds racist to me. It sounds like people are mad we have a black First Lady. That's what it sounds like.
There's no question that is, Chris, part of it with a certain element in the conservative base in Texas. Just the fact that we have a black president and obviously a black First Lady, I think angers a lot of people.
You see, they knew that they were not strong enough to conquer a unified country. So they split Germany into small groups. They used prejudice as a practical weapon to cripple the nation. Of course, that was not easy to do. They had to work hard to do it. You see, we human beings are not born with prejudices. Always they are made for us, made by someone who wants something. Remember that when you hear this kind of talk. Somebody is going to get something out of it, and it isn't going to be you. This is not classroom theory. I saw it happen. I saw it first in Berlin in 1932. 5 young men that I knew were standing in the crowd listening to the Nazi speaker. Eric was a Catholic. Anton, a student of mine, was a Jew. Heinrich owned a small hardware store. Karl was a farmer. And Hans was an unemployed metal worker.
To all Aryan Germans, I say it is time you inherited the nation which rightfully belongs to you. To you alone belongs the glorious destiny of the Greater Germany. The Nazi Party will provide land for the farmer, work for the worker, and profits for the small businessman. Who is getting these things now? The Jew. The Jew who has stolen our nation and our birthright. Who makes all the money and takes all our jobs? The Jew! He must be shunned. He must be ostracized. He must be eliminated. And the Catholics. We don't want our great nation run by a foreign church. We Germans will know what to do with these people when the time comes. They and their faith must be destroyed. Then there are the Freemasons. In Germany, we have no place for secret societies. There will be only one society, and that is the Nazi Party. There will be no secrecy about that in the new Greater Germany.
One by one, he attacked each minority, and he split them off one from the other. These men were all fellow Germans when they came here today. Now they were split into rival groups, suspicious of each other, hating each other. They were being swindled, all of them. But the man who was really being fooled was Hans. He was pure German, according to Nazi standards. To him they promised everything, and he fell for it. That's how Hans became a Superman. They gave him a uniform and they pumped up his ego. He wasn't just a little fellow out of work anymore. He was a member of the master race. Hans and thousands of others like him, all playing a sucker's game. They gambled with other people's liberty, and of course they lost their own. A nation of suckers. Hitler needed these people. There was lots of work to be done. There were trade unions to be smashed, because unions were organized and might offer resistance. There were many political parties in Germany. These the Nazis destroyed. They were determined to smash every organization where people might band together and resist them. There were Jews to be beaten and killed. The Jews were not powerful, but they were a convenient excuse for all the nation's ills. And besides, a Nazi party member could not take over this man's store. Hundreds of Catholics were put in jail because the Catholic Church had strength and could resist the Nazi drive for power. They had split the nation into 100 pieces, and then one by one, they had destroyed the pieces. Over these broken pieces, the Nazis rode into power. One party, one nation, one religion.